You currently live near the coast of the southeast of England at the moment, but originate from southeast London. For you, what would you say, what were the things that took time to adapt to between living in the suburbs of a big city and down by the coast?
I think what it comes down to is there's a bit more stuff to do though in the city than in the countryside. I mean, like you're saying, I grew up in like the suburb part of the city, you know, Forest Hill. It was sort of like a bit countryside, but there was a bit more stuff to do than, you know, countryside village sort of thing. There was a few more shops, a bit museum. I mean, I actually live quite close to one of the best museums in the country. I think they raided one time the Horniman Museum, and I always go there every now and then for thinking thoughts and that. And it was very much easier just to get things going and out. You can go to any sort of food sort of type thing and shops and that. They're very, very easily accessible. In the village or countryside, there is like some of them there, but it's not as many though. And also, yeah, it's a lot more quieter down where I actually live. But you know, if I was a kid and I was living in the countryside, I'd probably be bored stiff down there. So in a way, yeah, living in the city as a young kid, you know, in the suburb part, it's actually a really, really good thing. I mean, some people say, oh, you were dead lucky though to live there. And you know what, I kind of agree with them. I would say, oh, that's absolute nonsense. It's a bit rough in that. And yeah, there were some rough times though there. I mean, like you live in southeast London, you know, you've got experience with roughness and that every now and then, you know, so we can sort of connect on that level as well. So I'm just trying to think. It's a wonderful difference between the two, and you can clearly see the differences. I don't mind the quietness when I get older, you know, because you want to settle back and relax a little bit. When you're younger, you want to do all kinds of stuff. Oh, go all over the place and that. You're like,
what do you miss about London?
I think everything being so close and you can get anything really, really easily. You know, you don't have to travel out a little bit. I mean, for me, yeah, if I wanted to get, say, like a new Blu-ray or DVD that I've seen cheap somewhere, I'd have to get the train, whether it's like a 5-minute journey though to Worthing or a 20-minute journey here in Brighton, for example. And that's why we're here, and we're in Brighton. So, and but in the city though, you can just find something, even though it takes a little bit longer, but you know, yeah, you're still living in London. You still think, okay, I can still get back kind of like really easily. So, but yeah, the transport I miss as well. Buses, I actually prefer in London to the countryside because they're a bit cheaper. I will say that. I think anybody that says, oh, countryside buses must be a bit cheaper, they're wrong. I will say, I was quite shocked by the prices, you know, for some of the buses and that, you know, down here.
So you said you were about 23, 24 when you came to this part of the world, is that right?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
What was life like growing up in London?
It was very, very strange over there. I mean, when I was a bit younger, I can't remember anything before I was like 5 years old. I mean, I remember one or two little bits, like I was told I was sent to a school, I was sent to a doctor for my autism, you know, and you know, I can remember my 5th birthday, you know, getting Trapdoor though on VHS, and it's still one of my favourite shows. I've even got it on DVD though nowadays, which is brilliant. I mean, I absolutely love that show. It's corking, brilliant fun. If you watch Burke and that, I mean, Burke as a blue Play-Doh like that, it's really good. I mean, he's really fun and engaging in that as a character. I thought, yeah, what? And I went to many, many different schools. I mean, I went to a school called Griffin Manor, which is no longer there, unfortunately. It dealt with autistic kids, and they did a really, really good job. Now, looking back on it, I mean, when I was a bit younger ago, they were a little bit too strict, but looking at it, you think, yeah, actually, they did quite a good job. I mean, they had some difficulties because autistic kids are very much different to the average kid. I mean, that's what a lot of people don't really understand, but also, and then I went into mainstream school, and eventually, you know, Rathbone, which is in Catford, South London, I had a good time there. I even knew a couple of people, even someone who's now an actor. He's actually an actor. I won't give names away. I mean, you know, I will not do that. This interview's about me. But yeah,
I was going to say, what if you could give me one of your warmest memories of your youth? What would it be? Something that really shines in your mind.
I think doing school plays, whether it was like in primary school or secondary school, you know, when I was in secondary school, it was like Forest Hill Boys, and you know the school a little bit from one of your friends and that, so it's really good a connection in that. And I was placed in the same house as my brother, which was good. So we had that sort of connection sort of thing as well, because my brother went to that school as well. And I got along there really fun. There was some rough times, but you know, with the drama education there, it was really, really good. And at that time, I was really, really interested in drama, which was really good. I was really interested in acting, but nowadays, you know, I don't mind. But then I realised when I got a bit older, you know, acting wasn't for me too much. I don't mind doing it if it comes up, like being an extra part or something like that. But I don't know, maybe it's full time. Probably not for me though, really. But you know, when you're younger, you have different aspirations for what you want to do.
It's a very hit and miss career, isn't it?
Actually, yeah. I mean, I said that in an interview to somebody else the other day on one of my face-to-face interviews. I said it is a very, very hit and miss business. You know,
it's a very noble profession, but I think that you've got to prepare for sort of like to be in and out of work for sort of long periods of time.
Oh yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely, absolutely.
One thing I was just going to say. Now, I'm going to clear this with our audience, obviously, as you know, because we've already spoken about this before, and you've already mentioned it in the interview so far. When we first spoke on the phone, you told me that you were a supporter of the charity, National Autistic Society.
Yeah, that's right.
Of which you said that you'd had some personal experience with the condition itself. Now, I, for one, Barry, I don't really know a lot about it, only the things that I've read or really even understand. Would you mind just sort of like telling us a little bit about the condition and what it actually...
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you about how I first heard about it. This is only something that my mum actually told me about. I was like 2 or 3 years old. She took me to see this doctor because I was acting a bit peculiar. This is something from my mum's words or my dad's words. So, like I said, I don't have a full memory of something like before I was like 5 years old. They took me to see this doctor and they said, that Barry's autistic. So, okay. So they would send me to the autistic school, as I mentioned, Griffin Manor. They dealt with autistic kids, and looking back, like I said, you know, they looked after me pretty well, you know, looking back on it. And, you know, every now and then they would send me to do a doctor by the name of Simon Baron Cohen, who was an expert. And he's, in fact, Sacha Baron Cohen's cousin. I did not know about this until years later. And if you know Sacha Baron Cohen, you'll probably have heard the name or something like that, but I won't go any further. But yeah, he would send me, I do remember being in this big house in Camberwell. And I think my dad, or mum or dad, would take me up there either by bus or car. And I'd be in this room, you know, with building blocks or cards or whatever, but I can't remember too much else. And they performed little tests to see how I am in that. I never really understood these tests. In fact, I probably didn't much care. All I cared about was like, oh look, playing blocks. I'll play with the playing blocks and that. But that doctor, it's a test of saying, okay, let's see how he's doing in that. And it took many, many years. And when I was like 8 or 9 years old, my parents realised that my autism wasn't as bad as, say, like some other autistic. It turns out I've only got a mild case of autism. And going into my autism bit, when I was a bit younger, I'd probably have problems with eye contact. I probably wouldn't even stare right in you in the eyes like that. Or I'd react to loud noises. Like, if it was like, nino, 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 I'd go like, ah! You know, I'd probably react to bad noises. And I do remember that. My mum told me that though the other day. And I can physically remember that now. It's only come back recently. I still have problems with loud noises sometimes, but I dealt with a lot better though nowadays. So, and also I had trouble with reading. I know it's a bit strange. I mean, some people would say there's no problem with reading, but there is. It's got all different types of autism in general. There's many, many, many different types, like with cancer as well. Even, you know, many, many different types of cancer that actually grow in and out in that. And people say, and autism is sort of like a bit ignored though in the mainstream media a bit. I mean, there are a lot of important causes. I can understand that. Yeah, I mean, I think autism needs to be fully aware of it. The good thing is, though, really, my local MP, even down here in where I live, he's a supporter. He's a big supporter, though, of autism and autistic charities and that. And, you know, and the National Autistic Society got involved with me around about the age of 4 or 5, and my mum would send money. They would send a newsletter, so and so forth, and that. And I got a bit more involved with them later on in life when a couple of YouTubers, the Vlog Brothers, they do an annual project for Awesome every year on December 17th, and I thought, well, I'll just do this charity, and bang, I got that charity a bit more notice thanks to them, realising that they love the videos and that. So, yeah.
Is it quite a big organisation?
It is the biggest autistic charity in the UK. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is the #1. So I've been told anyway. So yeah, it is one of the big ones in that, and very, very supportive in that. And another thing I forgot to mention here is for the last couple of years I've done videos talking about World Autism Awareness Day, which always happens on the 2nd of April. And this year I did a big video with loads and loads of my friends who ain't autistic, but they're just normal people, but they understand about the condition. And they absolutely loved it. I mean, I heard it sent people into tears though by this year's video, and I was quite surprised by it because I really put in a lot of effort in that into the video, and it's probably the best video I've ever produced ever. I'm really happy that people really appreciated it and that.
Well, just talking about your videos, thanks ever so much, Barry. That's a great insight actually. Now I kind of feel a lot more knowledgeable on what you just said. I really, really appreciate you telling me this. You said they're mentioning your videos. Obviously, just a few years ago, YouTube started, and this is always like one of my favourite questions that I ask to my YouTube interviews. How did your YouTube story start?
Well, it's quite a bit of a long one, so it's a lot to explain.
Yes. I don't like the word nutshell because I've used that in my last 2 interviews.
I actually love that word. I have to say, I absolutely love nutshell. It's brilliant.
Yeah, but like, in a nutshell,
yeah.
how did it all start for you?
Well, where it began, it was like 2006. I had a channel called Barry 2003-2007. Not many people know this story. Only 1 or 2 people will probably remember this story. And I don't know why I came up with that username. I must have been high on something like Coke or something like that day, or something like when I came up with the username.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah, Coca-Cola. Yeah. Oh, this drink.
Sorry. Zip up. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. You see, it's good interaction here. That's the really great thing about this interview.
Well, one thing I want to mention, I have to mention this to you. I see on your channel that you are well into your video games, and...
Oh, I hadn't finished answering the last question. So
go on.
Yeah, it's the full story.
The nutshell.
Yeah. In 2006, I had a channel, Barry 2003-2007.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. Like I said, I must have been high on Coca-Cola or something like that day. And I really despised the channel after a bit. Once I went to a few gatherings and such, going to different places and that, which was really cool. I mean, I was nervous about what a YouTube gathering is, and then suddenly, I suddenly finally got it because it was people just to finally meet up and that. And I thought, you know what?
Fellow YouTubers.
Yeah, fellow YouTubers, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I realised something, that a lot of YouTubers are using, gimmicky names as channels, and I thought, I've never known anybody to use their real name on a channel. So I thought I'll come up with my real name, Barry Aldridge, in late 2007, and that's where my latest venture begins: vlogging, video game reviews, interviews, and praising people and so forth. And that's how it all sort of began. And the catchphrase "real name, no gimmicks." I was listening to a rapper, Obi Trice, who was originally signed to Eminem's label, Shady Records, at the time. He just said "real name, no gimmicks." I thought, man, I thought that was really cool. Because since rappers nick each other's lines, you know what? I'm going to nick his line. Mm-hmm. So I thought I'd do that. And I went to see Kanye West around about the same time, and it gave me motivation. Hey, you know what? I might as well go in there and be myself on the camera. And that's how it continued to keep on rolling. So, and that's basically it. And I've been doing the same thing for the last 4 years, from November 2007.
What would you say are your main focuses on your channel? What would you say? Because I mentioned just a minute ago about the video games. That's something that catches my eye. I know you're into your Doctor Who and everything.
Yeah.
But just going to the video game thing.
Yeah.
What is it you like about video games so much, and how have video games developed over the years?
Well, if I may, is it okay that I'll talk about how I got into them in the first place. Yeah, when I was like, I can't remember how old I was. I mean, like I said, you know, my